live at Epic headquarters. We're in our new studio.
Does it look any different?
Doesn't look.
I don't know.
I think they'll notice. I think they'll notice that there's no lounge chair.
Yeah.
Yes,
They took my lounge away.
So I'm here with, this is Stacy. I'm here with Jim Brown.
Hello.
And Chris Perna.
Hey, guys.
And today we have a very big show for you. We're going to talk about some logos we're doing, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the community has sent us some unbelievable logos. Henrik Ryosa, Guba. There are so many logo iterations out there.
I mean, there's like 200 or 300 out there.
Yes.
And they're all fantastic.
They are. They're all awesome. And people have come up with some really great ideas.
Right.
And we've circled around, and we've sent them throughout the studio, and we've talked about them, and we've come up with
I think there's five core logos. They're all very similar, but there's some little differences and nitpicks about each one that most people seem to like. So this is the process, right? Usually you do hundreds of these things. It's called spitballing. You just kind of spitball them. You do that mostly to figure out what you don't want. And you look through and you kind of eliminate. We explored this route, that we really don't like that, that type of thing. You have a nice back and forth. And look at everybody's submissions on the forums, and the stuff was incredible. We were blown away by the quality and the professionalism of everyone's logos. There was some really great stuff on there, and there's also great concepts on there, great logo concepts as well. Some people went all out with backgrounds and colors and all this crazy stuff.
And wallpapers.
Right, that's all useful for conceptualizing stuff like that. But in the end,
logos are particularly tricky too. It's it's an art that I think a lot of people don't understand.
There's a ton to look at. I mean, there's letter kerning and spatial awareness and symbolism and stuff like that.
Well, we also had the problem where we're like, okay, we really like these ones, and then somebody else, the Crotale or Google, would send one out there, and we're like,
oh, we like that one.
We like that one too.
Yeah. So a lot of times one will bubble up pretty early on, and then you'll see it, and people will kind of relate to it. And you'll do all this exploration and figure out other things and explore other avenues. See kind of what you don't like, and sometimes, or I found that a lot of times, you'll circle back to that one that was kind of very popular. That's kind of what we did here, right? Henrik had done one early on, and we were all like, oh, that's it, that's cool. But hey, there's other people posting really good stuff. Henrik, can you do more exploration for us? And he did. And he did. Oh, yeah, he did. He did 300 logos for us, something like that. So we wound up circling back to this one and just kind of iterating on it. And I think there's something here. There's 5 choices, and
let's bring them up.
Eventually we'll narrow down to one.
So everybody can take a look.
Yeah.
So there's all of the logos together, and these are the last 5 that we sent around everybody. This was somebody's favorite,
it's funny to me because our initial impression was twofold. We have the kind of classic Unreal with the blades that we thought, okay, that's a little 80s. You want to get away from that. Yeah. And then we have the big circle around it, which was co-opted by the engine. Thank you, Dana, if you're listening. So that circle U kind of been identified more with the engine than it did UT. So we wanted to get away from that.
Right.
And we went full circle, like you said, and we ended up back with a U with blades inside of a circle.
Right. But it's been modernized. I think it looks more dynamic. I think there's a more modern feel to it. Mm-hmm. It's cleaner.
But it's still still
recognizable as UT, and in particular Unreal Tournament. Which is.
So let's take a look at 136. This is.
Yeah. So. Well, I'll let you speak to him.
Yeah, I mean, this one's got a split U. Like if you look down at the bottom, the U kind of has a little split in it. It's got a thicker kind of swish around it. We feel like the swish kind of gives it that energetic feel. The skewed text, kind of italic, gives it that as well. The
this
T's
is a 2-color swirl too, so separates the U and the T.
Yeah. The T's kind of are a throwback to some of the older. We would accentuate the T's on some of the Unreal Tournament logos and stuff.
Yeah, the ornament always set inside of.
Yeah, what I noticed that was kind of cool about these logos too is that the U is kind of extruded from the circle, where in the past it was constrained by the circle. The circle went all the way around. So I think that's pretty neat too, just for shits and giggles, just how it's coming out at you and more dimensional or whatever. This one, the This one we like too.
Yeah,
I think
the people on the forums really like this one too.
Yeah, the U is not as stylized on the left side, and it doesn't have the little slit down at the middle there, down at the bottom. And the swish is thinner. But this one feels solid. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that I like about these, and I've pointed it out to Chris, and I don't know if it was intentional or not, but the negative space of the U looks like a T, so you have both U and T in there at the same time.
And I don't think
that's really cool.
Initially that was intentional, but I think Henrik
Yeah.
caught on and kind of accentuated it.
Yeah, it's very cool. I like that a lot.
Henrik's a genius with this stuff.
Yeah, he really is.
Yeah. I mean, thanks, Henrik, for all the hard work.
Definitely. I mean, he sat here when he was here just drawing.
Oh, yeah.
While everybody was talking about the game, he was drawing out new logos. It was amazing. This one's cool, too.
Yeah, 140, again, this is the darker.
Yep. Again, not very different, but now it's just a matter of picking that circle U that we like, and it's probably going to come down to creating standalones where you just kind of see the U by itself and see which one is the strongest by itself.
Without the words.
Without that real tournament. Yeah.
I like this one a lot.
I do too, actually.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how it would look without the words, how we could finish the circle out, but otherwise I think it's really cool.
I think you would probably just start the circle thick like that and then just kind of have it swish around,
But it's very cool.
Yeah.
I also like this one with the dark U and the light swish I like.
Right.
Makes the U stand.
So the other thing I wanted to mention is that these are very basic, right? Everybody kept throwing colored backgrounds and colored texts and all this crazy sizing stuff.
Yeah.
And really, when you try to pick brand identity, you want the simplest form possible at first.
Right, because it's got to look good as a
right.
vector.
It has to be boiled down to something very simple and graphic. And that's kind of where we rein this stuff in. We said, hey, just give us a couple simple graphic elements. Mm-hmm. And now, once we choose this stuff, we can go nuts. We can extrude this stuff. We can make it dimensional. We can color it. We can do all kinds of stuff with it.
Good, big. It has to look good small.
Yeah, absolutely.
So all that stuff has to read.
But initially, if you try to go too wide with that stuff, you lose track of the overall design, I think, and those elements start to become part of the design, and it's harder to boil that graphic image down, right? Because you're just going too wide.
Well, when we had the guys in here, it was funny because we offered them as a prize for one of the tournaments that we did, one of the logo shirts, and it was really funny because it was like, I want this one, and it was the UT 2004 logo, or I want this one. So everybody picks their favorite.
Right.
So you got to kind of bring it all together.
Right.
And I really think that the reaction to the people have had on the forums and everything to these logos has been really, really positive. And I think it will be iconic like the other ones.
Yeah.
I hope so. The other thing that we haven't really talked about today, but we talked about a lot in the office, is how these, especially with the words, it starts to look more like a sports team.
Yeah.
Which is kind of, hints toward that e-sport aspect of the game that we're.
It's got a real energetic feel to it.
Yeah, it's nice.
The italic text
picture it up
gives it some energy, that swish kind of thing. Yeah, it's cool.
Jersey.
Is that all of them? Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is. And we had so much artwork to show everybody, but we wanted to just cover the logo this time because this is really, really super important to us and to everybody out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a brand identity, so I mean, yeah.
But people have been asking when we're going to start, going more towards showing what we want for characters and stuff like that. So next week we plan on showing more artwork, more stuff. We have some weapons in the works.
Oh yeah, I mean the Enforcer's in the works now. I mean, if you want to look to know where the bar is for weapons, it's Gooba's Enforcer concept, right? If you want to know where the bar is for characters, you can look at Gooba and Teriyaki style, or doing a Lauren concept that's coming along really nice.
That I want in the game right now.
I know.
It's so good.
Yeah,
really good.
It's really nice.
Okay, so next we're going to talk about more stuff that the community has been helping us with.
Yep.
And when Hypno was here, and Henrik and some of the other guys, they were talking about different maps and what they'd like to see, and you spent like a whole day with Hypno making changes to deck and Nick Test.
Well, so we sat down with them and just let them play the game and just kind of watched what they were doing, what they were trying to do, and we set up just some kind of little mini tournaments amongst the group, amongst themselves. And then they started kind of pairing off and doing one-on-ones. And it was really interesting to me because knowing that these guys, or a few of them, were very, very competitive-minded, and since we had talked to them the day before and just kind of let them play around in the maps and show us some stuff, it was really interesting to see them actually put a lot of those special moves into action, and see kind of the way they ran through and navigated through the maps and the various paths.
And they all have like set paths that they do like every time.
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
Every time they spawn.
Just to watch Hypno run around that map, I was
incredible.
I was amazed.
I was a competitive player a long time ago, and I was way outclassed by these guys, and Carmack wiped the floor with me. I got 1 kill on him out of 3 maps. That's how bad it was. But putting the two of them against each other, putting Hypno and Carmack in a map, that was really interesting, and people were betting on it and laying it out.
Maybe.
And then afterwards, we sat down and actually opened the maps up in the editor, which is what I wanted to look at today, and just talked about kind of not only the map itself, but the weapons and the way things worked, and not having them offer like, oh, this is how you fix it, but more me getting a sense of, okay, what were you trying to do here, and how can we make that happen? So anyway,
and it wasn't just based on their old experiences. It was their new experience. So the movement was a little bit different, and places they want to get to. And this map, I think this weapon, because we weren't out to like change deck.
Do you have to tell Shelly that?
Yeah. So this is sorry, Shelly. This is deck, and it was really cool to see them be able to flow through such a very familiar space, but to also really take advantage and look at kind of the new movement systems and some of the things that we've done. And they were able to pull off moves that we didn't even know about, and get into places that we weren't aware of, and do things. For example, I did not know that you could wall bounce up through here and get up to the U damage. And that's actually something that we ended up leaving in, because it was particularly difficult to pull off, and even with a lot of practice and a lot of patience, it wasn't always a 100% thing. So I think that's a good, like, if somebody in a competitive space wanted to try that, we could go for it.
There's a bunch of people out there going, oh, I knew that.
But we also talked about maybe coming off of this wall between these two boxes and ending up on the U damage, and after some talk, we decided that wasn't such a great idea, because that was never actually intended. What we wanted you to do was to be able to use the more vertical space, and then that be your escape route.
Which is my usual. I go up,
Yeah.
grab what's upstairs, come down, dodge over to the U damage, and then run and get health if I need it.
And so there was a lot of, sorry, I'm actually in the editor here, so I can pop in and play. A lot of what we talked about with them revolved around the impact hammer. For the latest iteration, we had specifically done it so that a quick burst would get you up. Whoop, and of course I missed. No, I didn't. Yay. Would get you up pretty much exactly this height. If you go back to the original UT99, that was about what a quick impact burst would do. Would bump you up, and there was a couple places where that was the only way you could really get to some of the power-ups.
And you only get 25 hits on your health.
Yeah.
So then you can run over and pick up 25 health.
So we started from there, and then we added a charge that would get you obviously significantly higher. And so our thinking was, just out of the gates, this would be a great move. Like you said, you could bump across places. You could use it to just bump up and get your power-ups, and then refill your health very quickly. It was more interesting to me to see the ways that they had actually relied on that quick boost to do things like get up to here, which you can no longer do. Now it actually kills you. So there was it was interesting to me to see the ways that they actually used that. And they have those set paths that we talked about and how much they relied on those paths, and we completely broke it by changing the weapons. So when it comes down to what we're going to change and what we're going to fix with regards to weapons, I think there's going to be some compromise there. You can still make that jump. You just have to charge it a little bit more. So there's going to be times where they're going to have to actually adapt their play style to the maps instead of us adapting the maps constantly to what they're doing. And so there was a lot of just back and forth and things like that. We made a couple other small changes, like you could accidentally get up in here, and so you could just stand up here and then spam people, which was bad. You never meant to get up there. You were never meant to be able to, so we had to fix that. And then we did some layout changes as well. We originally had the bio rifle here, which is where it was after UT 2004 when this back hallway was added, and I took it out thinking that, well, there's already a bio rifle up top. And from this point, you have the flat cannon up around the corner here and the shock rifle right here. So there's quick access to weapons. And I put the helmet there, thinking that you could get the shock rifle, you could get the helmet, you could go up to the left here and get a few health, and then you'd be stacked against the guy who is inevitably up here sniping. Joe
Wilcox.
If you spawn here in a competitive match, like a duel match, that pretty much means, based on the spawn code, that the other guy is over here, because it tries to put you far away, which means that he has also the shock rifle and armor. So it kind of evens the playing field a little bit. And so that was my goal, was to and then you obviously have the belts in the middle. So you can stack a little bit out of the spawn, so you're not at a complete disadvantage for losing. But what we found out was that in a more free-for-all style match, having no weapon here pretty much meant you were dead as soon as you spawned, because everybody else was here with a shock rifle, everybody else was up around the corner with the flak, and you had nothing to do to fight back. So Matt Elfke actually moved the helmet over to here at one point, which was a decent change, but I was worried that if you're here with the sniper, you have no head protection. He has view over this whole area, so I moved it back over, and so now we just have both right there. We also moved the health down a little bit to give a little bit of audio cue of somebody coming around this corner, and avoid the kind of stickiness that happens when you try to get run into these crates here. I moved the flak over a little bit too, because it was right on the corner here, and it was just kind of impeding flow a little bit. And then I think the biggest change that we made to deck was that this always was a horrible, horrible death trap. If you ever spawned here, you were pretty much guaranteed that you were going to die.
Right.
Because your only access to a weapon to protect yourself was down this long path, and then you had to turn around and come all the way back, and you're surrounded by goo, and it was just a horrible experience. So we just tweaked it and changed it a little bit, so now you can bump right up. If you get your jump right, you can just hop right up there.
I was really hoping you wouldn't tell people that, because I still see people running up the ramp. So.
Which I think is great, because it's, I mean, in a high pressure situation, there's still a chance that you're going to miss, and so it's not a guaranteed escape. But if you're a player who's aware of what's going on, you have an escape. There's health there anyway if you mess it up. And especially in a duel situation, it kind of kept the map flowing. And in a free-for-all situation, I don't think it really hurt the map at all. It didn't make it any less fun. It actually, I think, evened the playing field quite a bit. So, I mean, we didn't make any dramatic changes, but it's just kind of those subtle things that make all the... Oh, and then one other one is up here. I'm still torn about whether or not we need the Redeemer up there. I took it out. Somebody put it back in. I took it out again, so we've kind of gone back and forth. At one point, we were talking about having the helmet up here as well, but then you had helmet stacking on top of armor, on top of rocket ammo, which you got the rocket from coming through the teleporter and the shock, so this was like the ultimate place to be in the map. So I moved the helmet back out, so it's not quite as powerful.
For the Redeemer.
But one thing we did is we opened up this spot right here. And that was based on Hypno's suggestion, because the way he was playing is if you were up there, he pretty much knew exactly where you were going. He could track this one. Right there. There's this one vertical slice that you could come down here. So by opening these up, which we did in UT3 on accident, honestly, now we've actually put some thought into it and done it why, and it just makes you a little bit less predictable. You can come down on either side. You can come down across and hit this ledge. You can come down onto the pathway. You can drop straight down onto the armor. I mean, there's any number of options there, which is really good, I think. So small changes but make big differences.
That's awesome.
And it's still deck, right? It still looks and plays and feels like deck as far as I'm concerned. So if we've broken it in any way, let me know. But I don't think it has, really. All right.
And
the other one that we wanted to do was I wanted to open up Nick Tests.
one of my favorites.
This one has had a much bigger change than some of the others. And honestly, a lot of these changes were made after that visit just based on some of the feedback that we got there.
And watching people play it.
And watching people play it. And we're still not sold on a lot of the major changes here. The biggest one, obviously, was just putting some basic materials on the walls so it's not all just kind of a white minefield of nothingness, which helps, just so you can see where floors and walls is and help you plan your attack and kind of sets players off. There's a lot of advantages to doing even just basic materials like we've done here. And the funny thing is that originally we had grass down here and darker walls, and it really made this huge mental impact on people. Yes. Where people couldn't play because the floors were glowing and the dark walls were oppressive, and it just changed their entire impression of what it felt like to move through these spaces. So we kind of put a more neutral floor and a little bit lighter color walls just to even it out a little bit. And our initial changes, what did we do here? Oh, we swapped.
Yes.
This was shock rifle, and then up here was the minigun / stinger, and we swapped the two because this whole area wasn't getting a lot of play, and everyone was down here.
And now everybody is.
And it was just constant shock spamming throughout this whole area. So if you spawned here, you were going to die. And overall, I think that was very, very successful, and that it started pulling more play up here. But then it just led to minigun spam, and that meant more hit scan gameplay, which ultimately I didn't feel was as fun. And so I've kept in touch with those guys and kind of watched some of their matches and the streams that they've been doing since then. So we actually switched them back again. So it's back where it was originally, where this is shock, and then up there is the minigun. And then Nick actually went through, and we wanted to take more advantage of some of the trick jumps. So he added this spot in here, and the only way to get up to the armor now is to just dodge up there. But now, as you can see, we just saw, you end up launching yourself over. So we're going to have to fix that again too. So you kind of have to dodge up and then air control, or dodge up straight into the armor, which can kind of be a pain. So this was another good experiment, but not as successful as we had hoped. And then obviously you can still just dodge across from up here. But so that's just kind of an example of our thinking was, oh yeah, wouldn't it be cool to take advantage of the special moves, but it didn't work. It was more successful over here, although I personally am not convinced of this change being good just yet.
And how do you get up now over?
So now there's if you wall dodge to the left and then dodge back, you can. I'm sorry. Yeah, see, I can't even get up there. Which is great. When we very, very first started messing with movement, you could do that same move with a little bit of an extra boost,
right.
But we changed the Z height a little bit so you couldn't get up there anymore, which didn't really change gameplay all that much, except that what bothers me now is that the health used to be down here, which meant that through this main thoroughfare, anybody can get health. And there was a lot of really good battles that happened coming around this corner here and fighting around the health.
Rocket launcher.
And yeah, and now that's kind of gone because the health is now on this upper floor. To a competitive level player, maybe not that big a deal, except that now you have to know how to use the special move to get up there, to get there, unless you come from the long way around this way, which isn't great in my opinion. Or again, you can lift jump up there, or you can lift jump over here and dodge across. So there's multiple ways to get there, but the health is so much farther removed now that it adds this other layer that I don't think actually helps the gameplay, but we'll see how that pans out.
Is this the version that we're going to play this afternoon in our playtest?
Yes. We actually played this one. We've been playing this all this week. The other change we made was just kind of a logistical thing. The height of all the walls was around right here before, and so we moved it up because when you had the jump boots, you could jump out of the map. Mm-hmm. And that was bad. And then Nick...
it was fun, though.
Nick decided that he didn't like the jump boots, so he took them out of the map. So I don't know if we actually needed to do that change, but that's another one of those changes. I'm not quite convinced yet. I want to see how it plays out a little bit, because there was a lot of really cool moves and ways to traverse the map with the jump boots. They were actually super powerful.
Well, everybody grabbed them as soon as they spawned. That was the first thing.
They became kind of a defining thing in the map. So if we add them back, I don't know what we'll do. Like now he added this ledge, which you'd be able to jump onto, which is good because you have a little bit more cover here. So I don't know. We'll have to play with it and see how it pans out. Waiting for stuff. Oh, I also made this pit very deep because it was just hacked in before, and then people started getting stuck in it because our slime code was bad, but we fixed that. So now you don't get stuck in it, but Nick went ahead and made it shallow anyway, so whatever. I don't have a real preference for it either way, right? I just thought it was originally it was meant to be a trap, and there was like a big squisher thing up here, and when somebody over here would push the button, it would go down and smash you, and then that's where the shield belt was. But the gameplay is a lot better with the shield belt up top, so.
Stuff that looks cool and sounds cool, but then when you play it, you're like,
yeah. The other thing I was thinking was maybe turn this into a bigger pit with a thin bridge across, and expand it out. But we'll see what happens. That would limit access to the lift. Yeah. And
people have been asking about the lifts. Are they getting better? Or?
Yes. Steve actually put a bit of work into the lifts, so they shouldn't go through players anymore, which helps immensely. We figured out a weird collision thing where they needed simplified collision. Otherwise, people they weren't behaving properly, so we fixed that as well. So they're a lot more consistent.
Cheering out
they're a lot more consistent than they used to be. We still have some issue of what happens when they come back down on your head, but we have gameplay ways around that if we choose to do it, or we can fix it either way. We'll sort that.
And we're constantly doing that, constantly fixing.
Yeah.
Okay, so make sure tomorrow that you stop by the Unreal Engine stream, and that starts at 3 o'clock? 2 o'clock?
2 o'clock tomorrow.
Oh, my brain. Those last 2 weeks have been hard on it.
We're at 3 there at 2. It's all good.
They're at 2 o'clock, so make sure you stop by tomorrow, twitch.tv/Unreal Engine, and make sure you follow us and like us on all our pages, and be sure to join us next week. And I also wanted to say a big thank you to our new behind-the-scenes person and cameraman and director, Shelly.
Yay!
Hi, Shelly. Yay! Hey, Shelly.
She's been here a few weeks. We just kept forgetting because we're bad.
Go ahead. You can say it. It's me. Thanks, everyone. Stop by next week. Take care.
See ya. Thanks.